Today, I'm telling the story of how I manifested my first ever six-figure sales day. I'm going to share with you the three-step process that I followed when I did this for the first time. And the reason for doing this today is that recently we had someone come into my business membership to teach a session on storytelling. And I ended up saying, oh gosh, I've got a lot of stories I've never told, including how I manifested a six-figure sales day. And ever since then, I've had people give me a nudge to tell it. So I'm going to tell you the story and I'm going to teach you the three-step process that I followed to manifest that six-figure sales day. It's very simple and you will need a green pen. Green's an important colour in this story, which is why I'm also wearing green. More on that to come. So I'm Catherine Watkin, founder of Selling from the Heart, and I teach heart-centered business owners how to enroll clients and grow their businesses without compromising their values. So back in the early years of my business, way back at the beginning, there was actually another business owner here in the UK with a very similar business and a very similar message to mine. She also taught a non-traditional style of sales to businesses who were here to make a difference. And hers was a more directly spiritual approach than mine, much more focused on the energetics and the vibration of sales rather than the more practical steps that I teach. But even so, it triggered a lot of comparisonitis for me. And whenever I saw her having success or I heard of people joining her programs, it would wobble me and it would trigger all of my feelings of, I'm not good enough, I'm not as good as her, people won't want to buy from me if they can buy from her instead. Now, one day, she shared a post on Facebook celebrating that she had just had a six-figure sales day. And she shared the manifestation process that she followed to achieve it. Now, after my initial blow that always hit me of, she's so much better than me, I could never do that, I actually switched my thinking. And instead, I thought, well, if she can do that, teaching something similar to what I teach, then why can't I? So that is step one of the process, belief. My belief that if someone else can do this, then that shows me that I can do it too. So I decided to follow the process that she'd shared to see if I could achieve the same. Now, I don't actually remember the process that she shared because it was a really long time ago and I adapted it. But what I do remember is what I did. So I'm going to share with you what I did. So I had a live event coming up where I was due to make an offer for a 12-month mentoring program. Now I had doubled the length and the price of the program and I had removed any one-to-one support from it. So it was very different to what I'd sold before and I had no idea if I would be able to sell it and I had no idea if anyone would buy. But I decided that that day would be the day of my six-figure sales manifestation. So then come on to step two of the process, which was I got myself into a really positive vibration. I didn't follow any special meditation process or listen to any audio. I just sat in the early hours of the morning. First thing after I woke up, I'd make a cup of tea and I'd go and sit cross-legged in my meditation corner and I journaled and I visualized and I got into the feeling of the day when all of these 20 people would buy from me. So the program was £5,000. So for me to have a six-figure sales day, I needed to sell at least 20 of these places on that day. And I felt into and I visualized and really tried to feel it as though it was actually real for me right now. The feeling of arriving home that night after the event, feeling really excited for what I'd accomplished and the fact that all of these people had signed up to my program. And I did this every morning, very early in the morning before I did anything else. Now, the first time I did this, once I was in the absolute magic and the vibration of the feeling, I went up to my office. And on that first day, this was where step three happened. And step three was I stuck a big sheet of paper up on the wall. Now, in my case, so that I didn't damage the wall, I used magic whiteboard, which I love, but it could have been a big sheet of A2 paper. And at the top of the page, in green pen, very important, I wrote the date of the event and I wrote the number £100,000. Now, the green pen is significant for me because I don't know why, it's just an instinctive thing that I do. I always use green for any spiritual writing that I'm doing. So if I'm writing and I want to connect with source or a higher power or just my higher self, or if I'm having a reading from somebody else who's doing that reading for me, I use a green pen. That's what I do. And then also in green, I wrote numbers down the left side of the page, 1 to 20. One space on that big sheet up on my wall, one space for each of those 20 new customers. I had no idea who they were going to be, but I had energetically and physically in my office created the space for them. But I waited until I was absolutely in the magic of the feeling before I did that. So I was positive and full of belief and excitement as I could be before I wrote this up. And then at the bottom, I wrote Makate, which to me means it is done. Now, I learned this from a business mentor of mine who taught me that it was a shamanic South American phrase that means it is done, that sort of seals the statement for the manifestation process. Like, it is done. I've put it out there and it is done. Now, I don't know if it's true or not. I've never heard of it anywhere else since. So, but that's what I do. I've adopted Makate as it is done that I use when I'm following a manifestation process. And then the next step was repeat. So 3 steps and then repeat. So every single day I repeated this same ritual. I got up in the early hours of the morning. It was November, so it was dark. And I sat and I meditated and I visualized, and then I went up to my office and I looked at this big sheet waiting with its space for 20 people to infuse it with the energy. Now, in the lead up to the event itself, things became really intensely busy. I ended up working very long hours. I was feeling very stressed. I was worried, would I deliver a good enough day? Would the offer be good enough? Would I present it in a way that had people wanting to buy it? What if I didn't do a good job? What if nobody wanted it? All of that stuff would come in. And every time I noticed myself slipping into a state of fear or stress, I would pause and focus on getting back into that positive vibration and the energy of those 20 people buying from me. And the day before the event, I didn't feel ready to run the event. But again, I forced myself to take the day off because I recognized, or I felt, that it was more important that I was in a positive, energetic space to welcome people in, rather than that every little detail and dot on the I and cross on the T was organized. And what happened? Well, on that day, 14 people joined at the £5,000 level, and 5 people joined at a higher level that actually had one-to-one time included. So it wasn't actually quite 20 people, but I also sold some places on other programs on that day, and altogether it was about £125,000 plus the VAT that I had to charge being in the... So that is the story of how I manifested my first 6-figure sales day. But of course, there's much more to it than the manifesting process. So I'm actually going to follow up with a part 2 to this story, the truth of how I manifested a 6-figure sales day. And I'm going to make sure that when that's ready, I link to it below this. So if you're curious and you're interested to see what was the truth behind that 6-figure sales day, and how much do I feel the manifestation process actually contributed to that result, go and check out in the description below, because I'll pop a link to it there. And if you want to find out more about the way that I work with people and what I have to offer, please check out my website, which is catherinewatkin.com, and you'll find a variety of free resources there to help you with your business. I look forward to seeing you over on part 2, the truth of how I manifested a 6-figure sales day. Thank you for watching.